You can't say all MOBA gays are the same. If you want fan service, play Azure Lane. If you want plot, FGO. By the way, this episode is sponsored by Raid Shadow Legends, the game. No, we're not. Welcome to RadioTakus.
No! I do not associate myself with Raid Shadow Legends.
That's okay.
Not like this.
Don't actually play Raid Shadow Legends. The topic of today's episode, even though we're recording this literally a day after the previous episode, ignore the fact that we haven't recorded for, what was it, 3 weeks now? It's fine. It's fine. It's mobile gacha games, MOBA games, whatever you want to call it. Sean plays a lot more of these than I do in terms of like variety. I play one because I just want me some fan service and I don't care. But I've had a little bit of experience in some of the previous ones before uninstalling them due to lack of space.
Yeah, it's mostly space that's restricting you. I feel like if you have a phone that has like 64 gigabytes, you'd probably play a lot of mobile games too. Especially since you have a lot of free time on your job, right?
Yeah. But don't tell my boss that.
Yep. Just make sure he doesn't listen to this podcast.
Yeah, it'll be fine. Probably, hopefully. And we have a very unstructured document because we just kind of went and just had a full conversation in the second page.
Okay, yeah. I mean, when I brought up the topic of mobile games, I wasn't actually I didn't actually think we were gonna go through with it. So.
Well, I figured that you hadn't suggested a topic yet, and I was like, oh yeah, I dictated the first 2 episodes. Maybe I'll give him a say for once instead of roping him into this crap.
I mean, I kind of wanted to do one about anime studios because, I feel like we didn't run out of anime topics to talk about that quickly, but we could always do something that's a little, off the anime route.
So, back to Wikipedia definitions because, once again, uncreative. Gacha games are video games that implement the gacha, parentheses, capsule toy vending machine, end parentheses, mechanic. It is similar to loot box in that it induces players to spend in-game currency to receive a random virtual item. Most of these games are free-to-play mobile games where the gacha serves as an incentive to spend real money. Thank you, random internet user, for the definition.
Yep, it's basically gambling, guys. If you take part in the gacha system, like seriously, I mean, where do we even start? Like, okay, I mean, we could talk about why we brought up the definition of gacha games in place of mobile games.
It's because there's a very like definite divide between just like specifically gacha games and then like the rest.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you obviously have
the rest as in what? Clash of Clans or something? Clash Royale?
Yeah,
I mean, I haven't played those games before, so
they can be similar. I don't know if Clash of Clans has like necessarily a randomness rolling factor to it because I strongly oppose that game. Not for like, ethical reasons. I just hated it for no reason.
Okay.
But I mean, it does have. I think it has some of the same aspects as a lot of mobile games and gacha games where you have to like wait. It's like a waiting game, and
okay, it's like stamina system. Okay.
Yeah, and waiting is honestly one of the most obnoxious things about mobile games. Just like, oh, pay to play some more, and I'm like, no, I'm just not gonna play you. But I can see why some people who get like addicted and keep on playing it would just continue to just pay to play more.
A lot of times you're just sitting down and you want to play the game, and then if you get throttled by stamina systems, it can be kind of annoying. I guess that's a lot of why more casual players will want to spend on a game, I suppose, is to get rid of that waiting time. I feel like for most games, though, once you get to a certain point, like once you get to end game enough, the waiting period usually doesn't matter. But that's just me.
Fair.
That's just me. Yeah.
It's just pulling the EA Sports mentality. No.
Wait. Aren't they like the Star Wars, the loot boxes people?
Oh, a lot. I mean, lots of computer games have loot box type mechanics. I mean, CS:GO has
Apex, League of Legends, Call of Duty. Yeah, pretty much.
There are a lot of like very popular, even like not free to play games that have loot box mechanics. I think Overwatch has it too.
That's kind of messed up, you know. Like having loot boxes on top of having to pay for a game. That's kind of messed up. Because a lot of times, gacha systems or like loot box systems are just there for free to play games, so they can have some kind of
Because
revenue.
like I think the way that it's implemented in League of Legends is like fine, where it's like you get like potential skin shards to like upgrade the skins, which is purely aesthetic and stuff that you would have to pay for anyway,
Hmm.
and it's a chance for you to get those like paid skins out of randomness, but for free because you get those by like leveling up, you know,
Um,
or just
no, I mean,
being a good player, which is hard as is, and but if you want to pay more into it, so I have a better chance instead of just
mhm.
buying the skin normally, then you have that. And I think it's fine that way. And like one of the things that I differentiate between a lot of gotcha games is how well that gotcha system, that RNG rolling system is implemented. The one game I play, and it's the longest gotcha game that I've played in terms of like how long I've actually been playing it, is Azure Lane. And I think the way that Azure Lane like gives you so many resources to roll for gotcha is a lot better than a
Hmm.
lot of other games. Because I don't know how a lot of the other MOBA games do gotcha, or like how free to play friendly it is,
Yep.
but Azure Lane is definitely very free to play friendly. I think I've spent like $30 on that game, but that was only for skins. And I mean,
Yep.
I've spent more of like Google Play credit that I've gotten for free off of Google Play rewards, but I wouldn't consider that like my money because it's pretty much only for games, you know?
So the thing with Azure Lane is that you're right. Like the premium currency is mostly used for skins, whereas for rolling characters, it uses a separate currency that can be earned in game quite easily compared to gems, for example, which is the only way we can buy skins with, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of games though, for a lot of other mobile games out there, the gems that we use in Azure Lane to buy skins are the gems that we use to roll characters. So they actually have in-game benefits, which is why you will hear the term "pay to win" thrown around like a lot. I feel like I feel like the microtransactions that actually impact gameplay is a lot more toxic than the microtransactions that are purely cosmetic. So in that case, I would tend to agree that like the League of Legends ones, the Call of Duty ones, and the Apex Legend loot boxes, they're not as toxic to the environment or
Player base.
to the consumer's wallet
Yeah.
essentially. Yeah, because they're mostly like the items that you're rolling for are usually geared towards the cosmetic end. With the exception of maybe League, because earlier on you kind of want to roll for the champions instead of the skins, pretty much. But that's like going too deep into the issue. The one problem I did have with League's system is the basically the seasonal pass thing that they would have. Those things cost like a ton. Like they cost a absurd amount of premium currency, and they give you next to nothing. Like there's like no benefits to getting it. So I just think it's a very bad deal, and the fact that they're putting it available like on store, it's yeah, it just doesn't rub the right way for me.
And that's a
Yeah.
very common complaint about the League of Legends like rolling system. Granted, there are lots of other complaints about League of Legends as a whole, but we're not going to get into that.
I just hate Riot Company. I'm just gonna put it out there. Yeah.
I know that we reference League of Legends a lot, and let me warn you, it's not going to stop.
I mean, I'm a league streamer for the
No,
most
you're an
part.
Apex
I'm a
streamer
league
now.
streamer and YouTuber for the most part. Oh yes. I think I played more Apex than I did League in the last month. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm enjoying Apex way more than League right now. Although I feel like at my peak in League, I enjoyed League more than I did Apex, just because I was better at the game.
What a meme. Imagine
But it's,
enjoying League of Legends.
I know, right? Oh, that's how you know my brain wasn't developed enough. That's how you knew I was a teenager.
So, the other games that I've played besides Azure Lane are Arknights, Fire Emblem Heroes, Fake Rent Order, and for a very hot second, Honkai Impact Third. Is Honkai Impact Third even like a traditional, like you don't roll for characters, you roll for like equipment, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, because it's been like years and years since I played that, so I don't remember.
Yeah.
Um,
I think you unlock most of the characters through the story, and then you can unlock different versions of the character. I think you unlock different versions of a character using the gacha, and like different versions of the character have different skins and different abilities for the pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, I vaguely remember that. So the one that I uninstalled recently is Arknights, and honestly, I only uninstalled it because I just didn't have time to play, and I was really struggling on space because of various things.
I mean, didn't you have to watch like a million Overlord and Yojo Senki episodes, and then you had to make space, so you just got rid of it?
Yeah, but I mean, I was on Crunchyroll, so it wasn't that big of a deal. But the space was just like I have to upload stuff from my phone because during the quarantine, my phone has unlimited data, but I don't have unlimited hotspots, so I can't upload stuff from my computer. I have to upload from my phone. And when I'm like doing audio editing and stuff for the episodes, the size of these files are like gigabytes in size, or like pretty close to that. So
Well,
just like having to load up on that so I can upload it or move it to my computer, it was just a really big hassle having to figure out what to delete.
yep.
But back to Arknights.
Okay.
Arknights was a fun game. Like Arknights, I like the tower defense genre of games
Yeah,
because, like, you know, I grew up playing Bloons Tower Defense 5. Like, I know what I'm doing, sort of. And I mean, you add like all these different dimensions to it, like literally a second dimension where some characters can be put on the floor in the path of the stuff that you're trying to kill, and some can be put out of the way but still be hit. And the variety of different characters and the different tasks that you have were really interesting.
There's also a base management mini game going on in the overworld too. So yeah, there's like other stuff to do in the game. I would say the base management system is kind of not that fun once you maxed out your facilities, but yeah, that's just me.
I mean, it yeah. Once you max out your facilities, it's basically just a collection game. It's not really that It's just, you know, your daily. Oh, I'm just gonna collect everything, then turn it off again, or just actually play the game. The gacha system for that game was it was alright. I don't You kind of go through and get the resources to roll your characters from playing Annihilation mode, which is just like an onslaught
Like
of
weekly missions, basically. It's like a weekly. Yeah, pretty much.
weekly missions, and Annihilation is just a map where they just send 400 plus enemies at you. And honestly, that took forever, and that's why I just kind of didn't like it. It took like a good 12 minutes at a double speed.
Like Arknights maps, like Arknights, yeah, it takes quite a while to auto through Arknights maps, and you have to auto through quite a lot, like to burn through all your stamina. So the game actually takes quite a long time to play if you want to maximize your gains on a day-to-day basis. I think I might go into more detail about that once I talk about the other games that we have on the list. But Arknights, compared to most of the games that I've played, is a time-consuming game. Like it's probably the most time-consuming game I've played for a mobile game. So
Personally, I would prefer if Arknights had like a 4 times speed option,
yeah, that would
because
help.
there's very little variability when you're repeating maps, and that's kind of annoying.
Like where you're just farming your dailies, when you're farming the daily currency maps or the token maps, you're letting the it's not really an AI. So basically, what Arknights does is the way you clear a map is saved on their system, and whenever you want to auto the map, they will just pull up a replay basically of all your moves, and then it'll just do the moves that you did at the exact time that you did it the first time that like when you recorded that run, and then it will just go through the motions. And there's a 2 times speed for that, but then the 2 times speed is that, right? It's just 2 times speed. It still takes like maybe 2 to 2.5 minutes to go through one map.
Yeah, and if you're doing Annihilation, it was like 12 minutes for
It's 10 plus, 10 plus easily.
for
Yep.
on double speed, and even cutting
Yep.
that down to 6 minutes would have been so
Yep.
good. And
Yep.
just imagine doing that the first time on normal speed, or just like
Oh,
alternating
I
between
never
normal
did that on
speed and
normal
double
speed.
speed, so you can actually not lose the game. And that'll take forever. The time consuming part of it was just definitely the most frustrating part about Arknights. The character art was great, personally.
Waifu.
It's like refined taste, not like, you know, lewd, like
Okay.
absurdly lewd, but like
Yep. It's something you can play in the public, right, and not feel too bad about it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. If I had a poster of a Arknights character on my wall, I don't think my mom would bat an eye, compared to some other things. Oops.
compared to Azure Lane, compared to the poster you gave me.
We'll come back to Azure Lane.
uh,
After we get to the other ones I've played, and then Sean can talk about the massive list of stuff that he's played.
it's only. I'm only gonna talk about 15, guys. It's only 15. I played like 20 plus, man.
I mean, was it 3 of these are character or
Overlap? Yeah.
Yeah, 3.
Yeah.
Fate Grand Order. I enjoy the Fate series, just like as a whole. I will honestly say that I've never watched Fate Zero. I'm sorry, but I have played Fate Stay Night, the visual novel, so I hope that redeems me in some credit.
Not enough. I'm sorry.
But as I kind of alluded to in the limerick, like Fate Grand Order is great for the fact that it actually has a plot, and the plot is actually like more well put together than some other games.
For sure.
And like it's good enough to the point where like anime adaptations have been made of it that are actually, not awful.
Wait. How many? Wait. What adaptation do they have? They have the Babylon one, right?
Yeah, they have Babylon, and
I know they're making a Camelot one.
I think Solomon might have had one, but I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Camelot one is a movie that I don't know if it's released yet, and the Solomon is announced after Babylon ended. If I remember correctly. So there's one that's released and 2 that is coming up. Yeah.
Yeah, and that is I'm trying to figure out how to explain how Fate Grand Order is played. Each character has 15 cards, and then on each turn you draw 5 of those cards, and then you select 3.
So it's based on how many characters you have that are alive. So if you only have 2 characters alive, you only draw 10 cards, or you only draw 5 cards out of 10, because each champion can only have 5 cards. I said champion; it should be servant, right? Each servant has 5 cards with different statuses. I guess you could say that. So some of them do more damage, some of them generates more crit on your next turn, and some of them generates more mana. And each character has their own unique distribution of those 5 different of those 3 different types of cards in their deck of 5, and then you just draw from those decks, basically. Yeah.
It's nice that the battle system was very simplistic. It wasn't, it was very intuitive. But the problem for FGO for me was the fact that the pay to actually play, not pay to win, pay to play, was just outrageous. Because I ran out of stamina so easily, and it has JRPG elements, which normally I don't mind because I'm planning on speedrunning Persona when I get my computer to actually be not trash. I'm playing Xenoblade, I'm playing Trials of Man. I don't mind JRPG elements, but when you have to wait in order to grind, it's just obnoxious. Because I don't remember where I was. I think it was the USA, the USA arc, but I was kind of under level for some of the fights, and the only option I have is to go back and grind more fights. But what do have to do to grind more fights? I have to
burn stamina, 40 stamina, guys.
More stamina, and in order to actually get proper XP gain, I need to spend more stamina, which is stamina I don't have, and a longer time I have to wait. And it was just awful because I just didn't want to pay for it. Also, the gacha rolling is kind of really mean.
Oh, dude, you think that's mean? All right.
It's of the 5 games that I've played, it was definitely the worst of the 5.
I see where you're going. Yeah, it came out during a time when the gacha system is still not very refined. It came out when I was still in high school, so it's what? Let me check the map. 2015. Honestly, the gacha system is still not that refined at that point. So yeah, the gacha system is basically cancer. So yeah.
Yeah, it was just very not forgiving for because obviously you're rolling for either the characters you want or the SSR.
You're usually only rolling for the characters. Yeah.
Yeah, if you want to progress through the storyline and you want better characters, then sure, that's also fine.
Yeah.
But you just wouldn't get those characters.
Yeah.
It was awful.
Yeah, from personal experience, I feel you need probably 330 gems to guarantee that you could get the 4-star from the pool, and the 5-star is just coin toss basically. So 330 gems is not easy.
It's rolling 5 T20s and needing them to all land on 19 or higher.
Yeah. Like the rates, if I remember correctly, still it's 1% to roll a SSR servant, and once you get that 1%, there is another dice roll that you have to check to see which 5-star champion that you get or which 5-star servant you get. So it's basically less than 1% that you get the unit that you want. There's this thing called rate up, which means that if you roll the 1%, there's a higher chance that that 1% will give you the banner servant. So they try to make it as close to 1% as possible, but man, 1% is garbage odds, honestly.
Yeah, and we kind of didn't talk about this during Arknights, but Fate Grand Order has like a very unique level, like way to level up servants. Well, not unique, but different than Arknights. I think I downloaded and uninstalled 2 years ago, but
Wait, is it? I feel like they're about the same for leveling.
I'm trying to remember, but
Okay. So let's talk about Arknights first, right?
yeah, back to
Yeah. I can
Arknights.
talk about the FGO one. You can talk about the Arknights one.
Yeah, so Arknights, there's two different ways of like raising up your character. There's promotion and there's God, what is it called?
Just EXP, right? Just level up.
Yeah, just
Enhancements.
leveling up in advancement. Gosh, I should know this. I didn't uninstall it that long ago, but
Uh,
promotion is where you take duplicates of your characters, and then it'll
oh,
increase like the attack and it'll
okay.
decrease the cost of your characters.
Yeah.
And then there's the way that you get through through experience.
Yeah, just normal
And
enhancements. Yep.
yeah, I'm just gonna look it up because like it's just gonna
Mm.
bother me. So I will let you know when I
Yeah. So okay. I'll talk about the FGO part for now. So in FGO, you basically farm for this thing called hands, like the thing that everyone has if you're lucky enough, I guess. So basically, you farm for hands, and you feed those hands to the servants to level them up. And once they reach a level cap, each servant has a different level cap based on their rarity and their current limit broken status. So once you reach the level cap, you will limit break them. So you can further level them up to the next level cap and continue to limit break them until they reach their final maximum level cap, essentially. And level cap breaking is actually quite a common mechanic in most JRPG and gacha games in general. So you will hear similar terms, right? You'll hear level cap, limit break, ascension, I don't know, promotion, something like
yeah,
that. Some
it's promotion in Arknights. Like I don't it's like promotion to Elite 1 and Elite 2. I don't know
yeah,
why I
yeah,
just could not think of it for the life of
yeah.
me. But
Basically.
like promotion
So
in
promotion is like the limit break,
yeah,
yeah, of
yeah, but
Arknights.
promotion is just where you in Arknights' case where you level up not by like going through the courses but by spending tickets. And then once you reach the level cap, you promote to elite, which introduces a new level cap, makes it harder for them to level up, so you have to spend more tickets, and you get stronger characters and introduce like potentially newer skills. And
Yep.
skills are also stuff that you can level up, but it's not that complicated.
Yep. One thing that I want to add on to our discussion before we move on is the thing with terminology. So Austin said something about tickets, that we use tickets to level up in Arknights, and I
They're
said something
literally
about hacks,
tickets.
right? Yeah,
They're
yeah.
literally tickets. You just collect them
Yeah.
over the course of the game. To be
Yep.
clear.
So hands and tickets are essentially the EXP fodder in those two games respectively. So you got EXP fodders that you feed to your what's it called, like your main squad or your main units essentially. So those are the EXP fodders. Nothing special about them. Um, yeah,
Just
just
like we could probably like put things in terms of like Pokemon terms, because like even though I know you haven't played Pokemon games, it's like the Pokemon system is very very straightforward until you get to like the very depths of like VGC, but we're not even going to touch that. It's like rare candies where you just like feed them to your Pokemon to level them up.
yep, pretty much.
That's you've done everything for Fate Grand Order, right?
Oh no, I did not actually.
Oh, no? Okay, continue.
I talked about feeding EXP fodder to level up, and then I also talked about ascension or limit breaking. So those are pretty basic in most mobile games. There's also feeding duplicates, which what was it called in Arknights? I think it's called talent. You're raising the talent of the unit.
Something
There's
like that,
also
yeah.
a similar system in FGO where you feed the duplicate so they can have a stronger version of their own ultimate spell, their noble phantasm, whatever you want to call it. And then there's also skill leveling, which is also a common thing you see in every mobile game, almost every mobile game. I don't think I've played a single game that doesn't have skill leveling in it. So yeah, basically all of these things take resources that you farm in game or that you get from events, or you basically have to earn those resources, and there are time sinks for between downtimes of events. Yeah, between event downtimes, essentially. Yeah.
I think that the Fate Grand Order is like kind of middle of the road in terms of like how intuitive their leveling up system is. Like
Hmm.
all the games will like teach you how to do it, but like it can be a pain to go through games and try to figure out what's quote unquote optimal.
Yep.
Arknights, there's like no optimization with individual characters. It's just a matter of putting together the best team for the best map, for the right map. Excuse me.
Yep.
For Fate Grand Order, you have like you can work with a team, and there's hardly any customization when you have where you have like within your team because you only have three characters that you can choose at a time, I believe.
Like 3 front line and 2 back line. Yeah, pretty much.
These two games don't really have like equipment, which is something that we'll get into
Mm,
more with Azure
yeah.
Lane.
Yeah.
And Azure
Yeah.
Lane, it's a side scroller, bullet hell. It's Toho, not really.
It's Toho, but easier.
Yeah, it's Toho, but anyone can play it, not just Koreans. Basically, Azure Lane is a World War II esque type game where instead of ships in the Navy, you have waifus. And yes, before you ask, that is the entire reason why I play the game. I am not ashamed to admit that on this podcast, although I will be more ashamed to admit that in real life.
Feels bad, man.
But Azure Lane, you select a fleet of three vanguards, which are kind of like your frontline cannon fodder ships, and then three backline, which is your heavy artillery. If you know much about World War II history, which, you know, it's not the most common knowledge, granted, for the Pacific Theater, you'll understand what those terms mean. And you just make a fleet with those six ships and maybe a couple submarines, and you go through a bullet hell for each battle. The leveling system in Azure Lane is pretty straightforward. You get it through like just battling, but there's easy ways of AFK leveling up your characters by just sticking them in what's called a dormitory, where they just level up passively as long as you feed them. It's like that one manga called like Only Leveling Up by Eating, except it's sticking bottles of cola into a ship.
Oh, yep. Just giving your ships an unhealthy
It's
diet.
fine.
Yep. Seems
They'll be
seems about
fine.
right.
And there's also commissions, which is just AFK quests to get resources and XP, which aren't as prominent, but it's still useful.
Which I'm surprised FGO does not have actually, because
That would be
most games have
nice.
that kind of component.
I mean, Azure Lane's leveling system, besides the the base XP system, is pretty straightforward until you get to equipment, in which case you get to a lot of optimizations, and then you just like want to throw your head into your computer because there's so much customization, and I don't know what's optimal, and then all of the guides I read are in Chinese, and I can't read them.
Just follow just 3C, man. He makes a lot of good English
Yeah,
guides. And
yeah,
as an aside, I hate the leveling system in Azure Lane. It takes
yeah.
too long for
The
me.
leveling system is very slow,
Yeah.
and
A lot of it is because you cannot save up resources for when new ships come out. It's just slow.
it's like what and events tend to come like one after the other, so it's hard to like save up your cubes to actually roll for ships.
Yeah, that's a whole different story. Yeah.
Like me, I play for the collector route because I just want all my waifus.
Hmm.
I don't really care about viability, even though like some of the characters I have are pretty viable in the meta.
It's the power creep, dude. If they're new, they're probably good, for the most part.
Yeah, you kind of have to get people to want to be interested in those characters.
Yeah.
Even if your characters are not the best, you have to get them invested somehow. And if you make them good characters, people don't care if they're hot or not. They're just gonna play. They're gonna get them and roll for them so they can actually progress in the story.
Yeah, like who's that wolf-looking dude in Arknights, like the warrior,
Clifford?
Silverfang.
Silverfang.
Silverfang. His
Clifford
his
is
piss
Clifford is
broken.
weak. Who am I kidding?
Like Silverfang is piss broken, but he's a dude. But everyone uses him because he's piss broken. Okay, you think people actually like his design? Hell no, man. Hell no. Who do we want on the battlefield, really?
Apple pie.
When you have a choice between Texas and Silverfang as your vanguard, who do you want, really? Of course, it's Texas, dude. But people use Silverfang because he's meta. So yeah, meta has a lot to deal with what people use in mobile games, which is fine, I guess. But yeah.
Yeah, but if you're just horny like me, play Azure Lane. It's great. It's free to play friendly.
Yeah, I'm more of a meta. But
All right, and then Honkai Impact Third, I did not play much of. I'll let you handle that after we talk about Fire Emblem Heroes, which is I don't know how to feel about that game at this point in time.
Fire Emblem.
I'm gonna be
Heroes?
honest. Yeah, because I played for a good while back when we were
Played for like a year, right?
that was in
Or two.
yours. That's in your sophomore year.
I was still in physics, man.
No, you're a freshman year. Freshman year.
What? No.
I
What?
was a sophomore taking physics 240.
Oh wow.
We did it into physics 240.
Yeah, I remember I was taking physics. So yeah.
So that was my sophomore year, yeah. But the strategy-based style of Fire Emblem is really fun. Because like I've played Fire Emblem 7, 8, 6, but barely because Roy sucks. I'll stand on that hill until I die. Roy sucks. And I've played Three Houses, and I find them all to be enjoyable games. There's some things I don't like about it, but I think like the grid-based directing troops, your player character combat is fun, and I wish there was more of that were actually prominent besides Fire Emblem. The problem with Fire Emblem Heroes' version of that is that everything was kind of very simple, and then stuff was broken.
Oh, I didn't know
Stuff
about
was
that.
just way broken.
Oh, okay. Like you mean balance-wise or like glitches?
Yeah, balance-wise.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
Because when we first started playing the game, because we played at
At launch.
release,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
and Takumi was broken as hell.
Was he the Archer guy?
Yeah, that's the archer. Like, if you didn't have Takumi, you're just crying or trying to figure out ways of dealing with Takumi, and it was awful. Because every PvP that you go up against had Takumi, and also like the PvP system wasn't great because I mean it's you can't ever have like true PvP because all the people you go against are just always gonna have AI because you can't really have that great of PV like actual two people actually going against each other as it is like a computer game. But the AI was just really easy to manipulate if you knew what you were doing. I mean, it wasn't bad of a game. I think the rolling system was okay. It was hard to gather up the orbs for it, but you gotta make your players work for it,
My own take with Fire Emblem is I didn't really like the gameplay because the gameplay felt really shallow to me. Also, the game's art wasn't that appealing to me. Not gonna lie. And there's also
The art's gotten better, I believe.
oh really? Okay, that's
Yes,
good.
I believe the art has gotten better, but it was very very limited in its gameplay because it's only like what 4v4.
So the whole problem
No one cared about the storyline.
Yeah, the storyline too. So I didn't have that much experience with Fire Emblems before I played the game, except for playing Corrin in Smash. So I didn't have that much attachment to the franchise. So when I played it and it didn't hook me with its gameplay or its character designs or its mechanics, it was an easy drop for me, especially since the game suffered from a stamina system. And where do I want to go with this? So the thing with stamina systems is that it's usually a bottleneck for progress in the beginning. But once you get through the early game, stamina systems just don't matter because usually like towards mid to late game, you should already have stuff that are maxed out. And even if you're lazy and you don't want to farm every day, it shouldn't be a problem. So like with FGO, it's the same. Like once you have a decent squad leveled up, it's okay if you just don't level your other units if you have a good character in each character archetype, basically. So like FGO and Fire Emblem Heroes work with a class system, or maybe not class system. It's more like a rock paper scissors system. So one class is strong against the other and weak against the next, and that's how you itemize, or that's how you customize your squad for each level. You try to get as many units that are strong against the enemy type in your squad, and you just do your battle, whatever. So yeah, with FGO, the reason why I got through that initial bottleneck of impatience with stamina system is because one, I was already invested in the franchise, and two, there were a lot of compensation stamina refills during the initial launch.
Oh yeah.
So I played on the Japanese server for FGO when it first came out in 2015, and by now I have like 400 golden apples, 200 plus silver apples, and like 100 plus bronze apples. If you add them all up together, it's probably like 10,000 stamina that I have in my inventory. I can use whenever I want. So I actually don't get limited by stamina systems. That's something almost every player can do. They can always store up the stamina they can always store up the stamina that the companies give to you through like compensation, and use it whenever you want. That's why I say Azur Lane's leveling system is kind of AIDS, because you cannot save up those things. Because to save up those resources
in like a very niche way, in a very like different way you can, because I have like 25,000
you can save up the oil
stored up, even though my quote unquote max is 8,000. And in my mail history, I have just a bunch of maintenance compensations that has like 2,000 oil and 3,000 coins, but I just haven't needed to
Yeah,
use them.
but what do you do with those, right? You have to do battle with them, and that takes time. And like it takes a ridiculous amount of time to burn through all those oil to farm those stages. Whereas with games like FGO, 40 stamina is pretty fast to burn through. Although FGO also does suffer from the same problem with Arknights. It has a 2x speed option that is still way too slow. The animations take 10 million years to play, and there is no auto mode, which is cancer. Cancer, man. Every game needs an auto mode if you're a grinding game, honestly. If you're a mobile game and you don't have an auto mode, you're a mistake. Okay? Like, you're a waste of time. So yeah, FGO is not a very good gameplay-wise. The only thing that I praise FGO for is character design, story, and its trailers. FGO is really good at hyping its events and its storylines with animated trailers. They used to be done by UFO Table, but I think starting from Camelot, they were handed off to A1 Pictures. I have no idea why, but they're still doing an okay job with it, so I cannot really...
Why would you hand anything from UFO Table to
probably,
A1 Pictures?
If I had to guess, probably something to do with licensing.
Budget.
Yeah, budget or licensing, because I think...
I mean, UFO Table's not hurning on money, except they will be after that.
Yeah, they will be. I think Aniplex is a sponsor of FGO, and I think Aniplex and A1 has a deal, or maybe it was Sony and A1 that has a deal. Oh, I forgot. But basically, there should be a reason why they chose to switch to A1, which makes sense, right? Because initially they went to UFO Table as their top choice. And it also does make sense because UFO Table has made a lot of their old stuff before, right? Like Fate Zero, Fate Stay Night, the movie, and Elemental Blade Works. So there has to be a reason.
All right, and now to the Mobage that you're more familiar with, because there's a lot on this list that I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna mute my mic for the next 15 minutes. Go at it.
All right. So I guess I could go through my mobile game history like chronologically. I've listed the major ones down in chronological order, so I guess I can just go with that. So the very first mobile game that I played seriously was probably Tower of Saviors, which didn't last very long because I eventually transitioned from that game to Puzzle and Dragons, which is what I feel really kickstarted my mobile game habit, I guess you could say. Yeah, addiction. You could say that too. Yeah. So that happened in 2013. 2013 is what I was probably in middle school or high school, probably. Yeah. Somewhere around that. So basically, Puzzle and Dragon and Tower of Saviors are pretty similar games. It's kind of similar to Candy Crush, except you drag one tile and it just manipulate all the stones or whatever runes in the grid so that you can line up 3 or more runes of the same color and do damage to the enemy or whatever. It's a fun game. It's like a fun puzzle game. I feel like it's more of a puzzle game than a RPG. Yeah, it's more like a puzzle game, and you have different units that you can roll for with the gacha, and the gacha rates are not the best if I remember correctly, although they do give you a lot of compensation gems and compensation rolls. So eventually I was able to get most of the meta characters and have a pretty strong grid. But yeah, that game also uses a elemental advantage, rock, paper, scissors combat system. So fire does more damage to wind does more damage to earth does more damage to water or something, and water does more damage to fire, and you got light and dark. Pretty basic, the 6 elements. It wouldn't be a trinity, would it? That's basically the 6 elements, rock, paper, scissors grid. And
kind of an aside, would you prefer if a gacha game had a defined meta, like a very set of meta characters, or would you rather prefer flexibility in what you can bring to the table and still make it work?
Flexibility for sure, but it is not possible. It is impossible. Whenever there are stats involved, there is always a way to min-max, and if there is a way to min-max, there is a meta. So I would just be... It's a pipe dream. There's no way, right? I mean... With Azure Lane, I feel like Azure Lane has a lot of characters that don't get utilized just because they're not in meta. Also, there's just way too many characters. Like, there are just way too many characters in some of these gacha games. It's ridiculous. Like, how are you supposed to use all these characters? Like, Puzzle and Dragons has like 1,000 plus units in the compendium. Like when I stopped playing. How are you gonna use 1,000 units? You cannot use 1,000 units, man. You can only use 6 units in a battle. How are you gonna use all those 1,000 units? You cannot. But yeah, it's whatever. It's just a way to make money.
Azure Lane's running on what, like 300 and...
Yeah, and you can only run 6 ships in battle. What the heck?
Hey, imagine playing Azure Lane for the actual
Yeah,
gameplay.
true. I mean, some people are pretty serious about the PvP stuff, and also like the later PvEs, like the later story stages, do require a bit of min-maxing to do the initial stages before they get easier with the scaling. So yeah, it's not like the meta is non-existent in Azure Lane, or maybe not meta, maybe more like optimal selections. But yeah, Puzzle and Dragon. I think I might just put like a short clip of the gameplay on the screen, like when I'm talking about this game. But like
Sorry if you're on SoundCloud listening to this.
pretty much, yeah. Just watch the YouTube version. It's better put together in general.
No. Here. Mute the video on YouTube, and then and then listen to it on SoundCloud while you have the video. While you have the video on YouTube playing. Easy solution, and we could
Double the
the.
view
I'm
count,
just kidding.
guy.
We don't
Yeah,
care about the
yeah.
actual view count.
I think I think out of all the games that I've played, with the exception of rhythm games like Idolmaster, and with the exception of say Arknights and Honkai Impact the Third, Puzzle and Dragon is probably on the higher end in terms of mechanical demand, like demand for mechanics. So you need to have fast fingers, maybe not fast reaction time because you can take time to plan out your moves because it's a puzzle game after all. But you do need good finger and eye coordination to play the game, and that's something that I enjoy about the game a lot more than others because it's actually kind of active. It's an active game, and it's also really fun to create combos, line up runes and create combos. It's honestly just a fun experience. I haven't played the game since 2015 though, so I played the game from like 2013 to 2015 extensively. But then after that, I stopped playing because I wanted to spend more time on FGO and other games. So yeah, that's kind of why I stopped. But if I had kept going, I feel like the game would also run into a lot of similar problems that other games run into, which is the problem with power creeps and also hitting the ceiling. So in a lot of mobile games, when you hit the ceiling, there's nothing left to do but to wait for the next event.
I kind of think it would be interesting if like units got retroactive like buffs, like a
Yeah,
lot of Super Smash Brothers or Overwatch or literally any like consistently updated
yeah, pretty much.
MMO game. Not MMO game, but like you know,
Multiplayer games. Yeah,
you
yeah,
know what
yeah.
I mean.
Online games. Yep.
But like oh, let's just retroactively buff Eating Bird because nobody's using her
Yeah.
or whatever, or introducing a slight change to Plume, but it also would kind of defeat the purpose of like trying to get a character only during an event just because like one of the ones that you can always get just overshadows them. It's kind of a trade-off on both
Yeah.
ends.
Well, yeah. I think the reason why most people want to roll for a character in gacha is because they're limited. They're limited, so you cannot get them during any other period, and that limited availability just already raises its or already makes people want to roll for them. And
That reminds me, I have to roll my Azure Lane.
yeah,
So
they're
hold on.
limited. The limited banner, and usually the limited characters are also piss
Let me
broken,
get my
so that
friendships.
doesn't help. Yeah, another game that I play seriously is a game called Terra Battle, which is getting shut down pretty soon.
Oh, dude, that's a feels bad right there.
I played the game for like 2 years because my high school computer science teacher played it, and he said, "Yo, I know you play mobile games, and I played this video.
Dude, call it
Yeah, I
out.
played this one. It's pretty fun. You want to try it?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure." And then we just started clearing dungeons together, and he taught me the ropes of the game. It was basically a game that I played to have a common topic to talk about with one of my teachers, who ended up becoming a very good
Oh
friend
my
of
god, did I
mine,
just roll
and
two Azure from
yeah, and he eventually founded the esports club with me for our high school. So yeah, it was just a fun time. Terra Battle is very similar to PND in terms of gameplay. You just drag characters around, and then you pincer opponents, and then if you pincer opponents with your units lined up, the lined up units will throw out skills and combos, and it will do damage to the enemies. So yeah, it's basically a PVE puzzle game. The unique thing about that game is that if you roll a character, you get the character. However, if you roll a duplicate, the duplicate enhances the current character automatically, and once the character reaches max enhancement, you can no longer roll that character.
Yo, that's a really nice quality of life.
Yeah, so eventually you will be locked out of rolling the gacha because there are no more characters you can get. That's a crazy one. That's a crazy one. I really like that system, and how free to play friendly it was also why the my teacher wasn't so opposed to introducing that game to me because, as a teacher, he must know that high school students have undeveloped brains, like literally, like our frontal lobes aren't developed yet, so we can easily fall into addiction and we can actually easily spend crazy amounts of money for a gacha game. So I feel like he.
What are you talking about? I'm already doing that.
And we're grown adults, so just imagine what little kids could do.
Yo, there needs to be like a website where you just go, where you can just like select a game and you just gacha roll, and it doesn't cost money, and you don't actually get to keep characters. You just like roll because
there's actually that. There's it's the gacha simulators. They have that on FGO, and I'm pretty sure they have that on Grand Blue too. to get your gacha itch. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to Google that right after the episode.
Yeah, it's like the gacha simulator or the banner simulator or something like that. Yeah. And then the next game that I played seriously was Shiro Neko. Shiro Neko in English, what would that be? It would be like White Cat, something like that. Yeah, it's basically a 3D top-down action RPG. You tap the screen to attack, you hold and drag the screen to use abilities, and then you just kill enemies. Yep. Insane power creep in that game. All my units are no longer meta, and I stopped playing that game after 2 years. I've had enough. The gacha is also kind of AIDS. You get a lot of garbage rolls, so yeah, that's not fun. The character designs are quite nice, though. The character design for Shiro Neko is quite nice. The character design for Terra Battle is also quite nice. Terra Battle art is a lot similar to Final Fantasy art, probably because they're both by Square Enix. That could be why. Puzzle and Dragon, though, it has some cool art, too. So yeah, basically, most mobile games, one thing you will find in common is they have very good art. A very good art, a very good icon to grab interest for newcomers, and a lot of fan service to keep the people staying. To keep the players paying. I almost said keep the payers paying, but, well, if you're a player, you're probably a payer, too. So, sadly, you can't.
Hey. They just know what they want.
True. They know what we want.
You gotta know where your priorities lie.
Yeah. and then after so Shiro Neko I played from 2014 to 2016. Same with Terra Battle. So I played a lot of mobile games in high school because I had time mostly. I played it during transit. I played it at home. I played it when I had time. I played it at school during recess.
I think we call that an obsession.
Oh yeah. Well, no. I was just min-maxing, guys. I had 5 games. I had to min-max my time, okay? I don't have enough time for all those games, honestly.
Okay, whatever you say.
And the next game that I played was actually a game that got introduced to me. It's Million Author Karise. It's a card game. It's a card game that's not similar to Hearthstone or Shadowverse. It's more like a PvE card game where you can join up with other teams or other players in raids of 4, and then you have a healer class, you have a warrior class, you have a defender class, and you got a mage class, and you just basically do raid battles with cards. The cards have very good art. They do a lot of collabs with anime like Danmachi, FGO, or not FGO. I think it was just Fate Stay Night because I had an anime. But yeah, I think Million Author by itself is like a very big franchise in Japan, but Karise is the only one that I played. Yeah, nothing much to say. I played it because my friend played it, and once he stopped playing, I stopped playing too. But I played the game for 2 years, so yeah, I was quite serious when I was playing. The next game that I played for a while, like about a year, from 2015 to 2016, was Idolmaster and Love Live. They're both rhythm games, and I liked Idolmaster music more than Love Live, and I also like Idolmaster art more than Love Live, and I also love Idolmaster Dojin more than Love Live, so I played Idolmaster more than Love Live. Nothing more to say, guys. Nothing more
surprised.
To say. Gacha is 8. The rates are garbage. God, please don't play that game if you have mercy for your wallet. But if you like the music, you can play that game. It's all right. It's all right. Just don't play the game seriously, okay? Just don't fall for the wife trap. And then after that, FGO released, and I played that game for like 3 solid years. I bought all the anniversary packages. I spent a ton for the Okita and Skatha banners. I don't know what I was doing with my life, and FGO was a mistake.
I mean, does anybody?
Yeah. Okay, so one thing I do really like about FGO was how piss broken the server was. Because every time there's a server maintenance, they gave us gems and they gave us stamina refills, which I loved, which NA players don't get to experience because everything's already optimized for them. sadly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, FGO. Yeah, I mean, what can I say, right? I love the artists. The artists amazing. The best thing I like, the thing I like the most about FGO is the animated trailers. Just on Google, type Moon movies, or Type Moon is basically the company that Nasu made to, like, when he published Tsukihime and Fate Stay Night and whatnot. Yeah, their movies, their animated promotional videos is top notch, very good. Even though it's by A1, but even if you're A1, if you're only making a 30-second clip, you can still make it look good. Wow, surprise. Anyways, next game that I played. The FGO, man, hard carried by its waifus. Nobody plays the game for its gameplay. Gameplay is dog, boring, waste of time, repetitive. Once you find a winning formula, it will always be the winning formula. Like, no matter how they buff the enemies will never the enemies will never beat you. The game's just too easy, man. The game's too easy. Like, people only play it for the story if they're Japanese, or now that the English version is released, they play it because of the story. They play it because of waifu collection, basically. Yeah. Next game that I have on the list is Grand Blue Fantasy, which is a game that I am still playing, which really surprises me because it's a game that I found on the App Store when I was moving to Michigan, like in 2016. And I was like, oh, I have time. I can play this. I can try it out. And I'm like, what the hell is this gameplay? This game is kind of difficult. Or like, what the hell's going on? Because the game is kind of beginner unfriendly. So you have to go out of your way to find guides to like orient yourself, unless you're like those types that wants to explore everything yourself. In which case, if you do that, it might take a while to figure out how the game works. But yeah, the Grand Blue Fantasy actually has a very deep character building system, or not character building. So Grand Blue has two things that you want to work towards. One is the character pool, and the other is the equipment pool. And the character pool is pretty easy, right? You roll gacha. If you have to roll the character's weapon, you get the character weapon, and you get the character themselves. The weapons are what's difficult because it's kind of unintuitive to new players. But basically, for each element in the game, and there are 6 elements if I remember correctly. There's fire, water, earth, wind, light, and dark. So the usual 6. And for each element, you have to build your own weapon grid. And each weapon grid has weapons that have weapon skills that only work on certain elements. Yeah, it's quite a convoluted system. The good thing about the game is that the game's rates are very interesting, and side games is always releasing end game content, so the game never gets old. So I've been playing the game from 2016 to now, right? So that's like what, 4 years now. Now it's like this year's the 4th, and I'm not as hardcore of a player as most Japanese players are, but I'm probably hardcore when it comes to the NA player base. So, well, I'm probably one of the more tryhard players, and even now I still have not farmed all 10 Jutens, which is basically like the most OP characters in the game canonically. So once you farm the Jutens, you have to limit break the Jutens, and then once you limit break the Jutens, you have to go through a series of battles to upgrade yourself, basically. You unlock a skin, basically. You unlock a skin for yourself, and it's all well and good. But now they're releasing a further uncap of the Jutens, and I'm like, how the hell am I supposed to get those uncaps? I cannot get those uncaps, man. Like, I've been playing this game for 4 years, and I still haven't gotten any of the I still haven't gotten all 10 Jutens. It's impossible. So yeah.
Grand Blue has an anime, doesn't it?
It does have an anime.
Didn't it get an adaptation? I don't remember.
The first season is actually animated in-house. It's by the Side Games Animation Studio, or like the animation team, basically. I think season 2 is the one that's got passed onto A1 Pictures? Question mark?
Stop giving shows onto A1 Pictures.
Yeah, that was a mistake. They watched too many FGO trailers, and they forgot those trailers are only 30 seconds long.
Hashtag make A1 great again, except for Kage, because Kage is already great.
Oh my god! Oh, I hate A1.
I mean, Grand Blue's. You can tell Grand Blue's still popular because Grand Blue Fantasy Versus. That's what it's called, right?
Yeah, and they're also
just got released within the last year.
It was pretty recent, right? It was like a couple months ago. They also released Grand Blue. They're also making a PlayStation game, Grand Blue Fantasy Relink. Relink, I think. Yeah, Relink. It's basically like an open world RPG with the FGO with the Grand Blue cast. The Grand Blue story is also not bad. The game is very, very well made in the sense that it rewards you for grinding, and the grinding is actually not that difficult, although it is kind of repetitive at times. But there's an auto mode, guys. There's an auto mode. God bless auto modes. Yeah, Granblue is a very like if I was going to recommend a game that I've played before, Granblue would definitely be one of them. Um, if you play with friends, it can be very fun. Even though I've never played with friends before because none of my friends are hardcore mobile gamers. plebs, plebs. But yeah,
I'm hardcore in one game, and that's sad.
yeah,
I'm not even that hardcore, to be
yeah.
fair.
Oh, also, Granblue Fantasy runs on the stamina system, but right now I have 4,000 half stamina potion and about 5,000 blueberries. So basically, I'm never out of stamina.
And the last big one that you've been playing for quite some time now is Girls Front Line,
We
which you're very happy about.
Yes,
But
I love Girls Frontline. Oh my god. The story is great, the art is great, it's set in Russia. So here's some GFL memes for you guys. So
oh dear,
so the game is set in Russia, made in China, voiced by Japanese, and played the most by Koreans.
God,
How's
I
that for
feel
an
like a
international joke?
35-year-old trying to listen to his kids explain memes.
But yeah, so GFL is basically how do you say a cauldron of like different cultures, but nobody really cares about the Russian setting. It's a fun thing. It's reflected in the uniforms and whatnot, but people are really there for the story. The story is very gritty. It's quite well written and it's quite compelling towards the middle half onwards. The gameplay itself is pretty simple up until chapter 6. I feel like after chapter 6 you have to do a lot of dragging or kiting in the game, but for the most part what the game is about is you have a bunch of girls who are using different kinds of guns, so like ARs, machine guns, handguns, SMGs, snipers, what else, shotguns. I think there's one more weapon type, but I cannot remember. But yeah, so basically each girl has a different weapon, and each weapon fulfills a different role, and you basically create team comps with these kind of guns, and in the battle they'll basically attack the enemy with the stats that they have. So each gun has their own rate of fire stat, each gun has their own firepower stat. So basically the whole game is played on auto, essentially. The only thing that you have to manually do is activating skills if you want to, and dragging the units if you want to. Because dragging units and by dragging units, you can move the units and you can kite the enemies. Because most enemies have a limited range, and you can use those to get a few frames of invulnerability on your backline, so you can do more damage without taking damage. But yeah, the game has some very insane ranking maps. I've been consistently placing like top 20, top 10 percentile on those maps, but
Try hard.
they are quite difficult for the most part. And the reason why I was able to place that high is not because I'm hardcore, but well, actually I'm kind of hardcore, but
You are
mostly
hardcore.
because but mostly because NA players don't try hard. Like I don't think NA players take mobile gaming that seriously. But if I was playing this on Japanese server or if I was playing this on Korean server, I'll probably be like top 40 or something percentile wise. I mean, you can marry your guns, man. What can I say? It's a good game, man. Yeah, it's a good waifu game. If you don't like AL's aesthetics, go play Girls Frontline.
2020, where you can marry your guns and your ships.
Yep.
Yeah, if you
Well,
can marry your guns, it's perfect for America.
oh my god. Yeah, true.
True.
All right. I was gonna rapid fire through the rest of the games that I've played
Nah, we
before.
don't need them.
I think I'll talk about Epic 7 though.
Okay. Okay.
Epic 7 is one I would also recommend if you're a fan of high fantasy. Granblue and Epic 7 are both high fantasy genre games, and they're both turn-based. Epic 7 is made by a Korean studio. It has amazing. I wouldn't say trailers because trailers. When I think about trailers, I think about the stuff that FGO puts out on their YouTube channel. But
I
Epic
don't
7
think you
has a
can
lot
really
of
compare a lot of gacha game trailers to FGO, because FGO is like the golden standard of them. You know,
yeah. FGO and
you have to set
Arknights
your
have,
expectations a lot lower than that.
but yeah, FGO and Arknights have amazing trailers. Go check them out, and they'll probably get you hyped up about the game, and you'll probably want to play the games. And I mean, why not, right? Why not? But for Epic 7, the good animation or the good animation cuts are in the game, so you can watch them basically whenever you want. Whenever you throw out your ult, there's a cool animation that it plays. There are some very sick animated cutscenes that are available on YouTube that you can just look up. Just look up Epic 7 animation or hold on, let me look that up right now, and I'll get back to you in a sec. Epic 7 animation.
One of the things that we have listed on this document for like what makes a good gacha game is definitely the good PVs. And granted,
Yep.
I mean, you can have a good gacha game without a good PV, but definitely helps, and it's a very good to advertise the game.
Yeah, it gets you hyped up. It gets you want to roll the gacha, dude. That's how they make the money.
The other things that we have on here is like meaningfully grindable, frequent updates, and free to play whale safety nets. Because like, I definitely stand on the side of games should be free to play. Like, you should be able to complete a game free to play.
And for most of them, you can.
Yeah, if you like, maybe you have to like research your management, like not spend cubes on one event so you can save up for a different event where there's a better unit. Like, I'm okay with that. But I think but those are definitely the biggest things about a gacha game that, you know, makes me want to play it.
Yep. Okay, so I just looked up Epic 7 all animated cutscenes. So yeah, that's a good keyword to search for. It's got some very cool animation cuts. 10 out of 10 would recommend that game for its visuals. Gameplay wise, it's okay. It's meh. It's got a PvP system that's actually just PvE. But yeah, the game has some cool character designs too. It's basically got everything a mobile game can ask for. The writing is kind of meh in terms of quality. Like the story is kind of meh, and then the humor is kind of meh. But it's a high fantasy world, and if you like the atmosphere,
it's anime humor. It's always going to be
it's Korean anime humor, which it's not something that I'm used to. So yeah.
All right, we will now interrupt your daily Mobage discussion to complain about how bad the Azure Lane anime was.
Right.
It was so bad. There was no storyline. There was some storyline, but it still made no sense. The resolution was just so cheesy and awful. And there's like, I might play Azure Lane for the fan service, but that was just like distinctly tasteless fan service. It's just unnecessary. Oh my god. Okay, continue.
Wait, doesn't Azure Lane doesn't really have a story to begin with, anyways, though. Like,
no, it does. I mean, one thing that I would have liked to see in Azure Lane is just like a faithful reenactment of the Pacific Theater of World War II, but like with the anime ships. Like, okay, sure. As much as I love Helena Killeroff in the Battle of Common, whatever in the battle that the actual USS Helena died in, it gets up to like the Battle of Midway, which is like really early in the Pacific Theater, and then it just stops. And I mean, it definitely could have continued, but then they would have had to kill off ships, and they didn't really want to. But it's fine.
I mean, they can still be canonically dead, but you can still use them.
Yeah, that's true. It's just a retrofit. It's a rebuilding, whatever. One of the things that I enjoyed about Azure Lane, and it's definitely been in like some of the other gacha games, is just the collabs that they've done. Azure Lane did a collab with HoloLive a while ago, and as Sean, a connoisseur of VTubers,
after the event, by the way,
me a lot of clips of VTubers, and now Inugami Kurane won't get out of my YouTube recommendations.
Egg is a potato.
Okay, in Sean's defense, he's the one that made them appear there in the first place, but it's my fault for getting them to stay.
So the thing that Austin mentioned earlier about the whale safety net, so when I brought that up on the document, I was thinking mostly about the Grand Blue Sparks, but I think a lot of other gacha games have that implemented. It's basically, so in Grand Blue, the Grand Blue Sparks is a mechanic where if you roll the gacha 300 times, you can choose any weapon in the gacha pool that has a rate up. So you can choose the rate up SSR, you can choose the rate up SR if you really wanted the SR but you didn't get the SR for some godforsaken reason. It's basically a safety net so that people won't spend a crazy amount of money on the game and still not get the thing that they want. Because I think in Japan there's a law for, I'm not sure if it's for gambling or if it's for consumer products, where essentially they're saying that the user cannot spend an excess amount of money for something that has too little value. or in proportion to it. It's some weird law. It's basically a law to protect consumers. Basically, it's so that people don't get scammed, so they won't pay like $5 billion for like a secondhand car or something like that. Yeah, it's some law. It's some law to protect the consumers, and Granblue got into a lawsuit because of their gacha system before they implemented the Spark system, because some dude spent like 30 million yen or something on one of the Zodiac characters, Anila, and he didn't get the character. And it's just like, wait, but you advertised the rate was like 1% or something. I didn't get the character, and I wrote 300 million yen or 30 million yen, and that's like more than 100. And by probability, should I have this freaking character by now? And Granblue was like, oh, sorry, well, you're just unlucky, I guess. And then the Japanese like government was just like, no, that can't happen, man. That's too ridiculous. So they basically because of this whole lawsuit, Granblue was forced to implement the Spark system, and other gacha games had to follow suit. So FGO implemented the Spirit Seal system or whatever. It's basically you roll a SSR duplicate after you fully leveled their Noble Phantasm or fully leveled their ultimate, or you will get a duplicate, and instead of the duplicate, you will get a seal, which if you collect 10 of them, you can exchange for any SSR in the gacha pool like that's currently available, and that's like the safety net that FGO has. The one that Idolmaster has, I think, is very similar to Granblue. It's if you roll 300 times and you don't get a character, you can get that. You can choose any SSR from the pool. Same thing with Epic 7. Girls Frontline and Azure Lane don't have those mechanics because their gacha system is slightly more different from. Yeah.
It's a lot more forgiving. It's not that bad, and it's not so bad that you would need that much help. Like there's a wishing well system in Azure Lane where you can select stuff that select specific ships that would have a rate up for a period of time, but it's not like it's not that necessary. It's just something
like
to help,
and a lot of why those like these two games have a forgiving gacha system is because those gacha rolling currencies are farmable. They are supposed to be farmed, whereas the other games are using premium currency that you can only rarely earn from events or from paying. So whale safety nets are very important for gacha games that uses premium currency to roll. Not so much in other games though. Not so much in other gacha implementations though. So yeah. I guess we could talk a little bit about the adaptations, right? So we talked about AL, the garbage adaptation that nobody wants to watch.
Yeah, let's not talk about that any more than I have to. Yeah. Don't watch it. If you play Azure Lane, don't watch it. Yep. I mean, you can if you just want to see a little glimpse of your favorite ship girl, like I did.
Mm-hmm. But it's not gonna be that rewarding, honestly.
It's not that rewarding. Just watch clips.
Yeah. Granblue also has two adaptations. One by their own in-house studio, which we mentioned, which we mentioned earlier, and the other by A1. The A1 one looks like garbage. Don't watch it. You can watch the first season, no problem though. It has an interesting aesthetic for sure. Is
it like One Punch Man season 1 versus One Punch Man season 2 type deal?
Yes, but not that extreme. Yeah, I was gonna say Steins Gate versus Steins Gate Zero, but oh my god, that's even worse. That's even no. Steins Gate Zero does not exist.
I was giving us a little bit of credit, and the first recommendation that we have for this week is actually the third one that we're gonna talk about. Kind of mentioned earlier, Fate Grand Order Babylon, or I think that's the official title or something like that. But the Babylon arc was adapted.
Zettai Maju Sensen. Or the absolute demonic battlefront.
Yeah, absolute demonic, something like that. It's the Babylon arc of Fate Grand Order. It aired, I believe, earlier this year. It's like I think it's last year into this year, but it is a great adaptation. We get to see animated MASH, which is all we really care about. But we also get Ishtar and Eshkigel and a lot of good action sequences. Questionable CGI in a couple parts, but that's okay. That's just par for the course. It is a good adaptation. So definitely go watch it. And if you,
I have my own complaints about the show though.
We don't care. No, just kidding.
like the show definitely has its problems. Like the sound effects are piss cancer. Like they hurt your ears. Like they are gratingly bad. They're like the sword like they're as bad as the Berserk adaptation, like the CGI Berserk adaptation. But when there's impact in the show, it sounds like some trash cans are thrown around the room, like metallic trash cans. It sounds so grating to the ear, and they're also really loud compared to the normal sounds in the
Easy,
show.
just watch
so,
it
like,
muted.
well,
Ignore
yeah,
the voice actors, just watch it
much.
muted. No,
Yeah, and
it's still a good series in spite of the poor sound direction.
yeah, I would praise the show the most for its opening and ending themes, because the opening is by Unison Square Garden, which is one of my
Wait.
favorite bands in Japan, and then the endings are very well done and well inserted. Like they're placed in good parts of the show to create emotional impact, so that's good on them. Um, if you like Gilgamesh's voice acting, the same voice actor is back for more of his laughs, so that's good. The choreography is actually quite good for like during the human to human combats. However, when it comes to like the CGI aspects, just close your eyes, man. Close your eyes.
And the second recommendation that we have is a manga, well, sort of a manga, but it's the Azure Lane comic anthology. If you enjoy Azure Lane and just want a little bit of slice of life of the ship girls just chilling and doing random stuff, great series to start. And that's all we have for this week. See you when we next record something in like a month.